Cosplay Stitch and Seam. I'm Pannon.
I'm V-Fire.
And I'm David.
Hooray!
Hooray!
Yay!
I feel like I always end with hooray when I have like nothing super exciting to say, but hey.
It's another episode. That's an exciting reason to
Yeah.
be joyous.
And you know what? I'm super excited about this one too because it's like incredibly nerdy and I love that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
If you guys would like to reach out to us with your episode ideas, tell us what you're working on, give us your cosplay horror stories, you can send those to us at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com or
you can go to the website, cosplaystitchandseam.com, and fill out the googly Google form, or
go to the Facebook page. Send us your message there, your ideas, your thoughts, your horror stories, or happy stories, or anything beyond or in between. We'd love to hear them there. And while you're there, join our fantastic community where we have our Work in Progress Wednesdays. But if you're not a big fan of Facebook, we also have our own Discord channel now, and it's fantastic. Got to talk about video games with Pannon over the weekend. That was great.
Yes.
How's Final Fantasy VII Remastered treating you?
You know, I could talk for a whole episode about that. I loved most of it. Most of it I really enjoyed, so.
You can ask Pannon more details about it on our Discord channel. We have a whole channel just dedicated to gaming. Just gaming. It's fantastic.
gaming!
You can ask me about the little bit I don't like, because it was all at the very end.
And then if you other dear listener don't want spoilers because you're going to get to it eventually, Pannon can actually mark it as spoilers so you don't have to see it. We were really good about the Marvel TV shows and spoilers and whatnot. So
You were like, I haven't watched WandaVision yet, and I had been so careful about spoilers, and I was so appreciative of our chat, like marking everything, so I could still kind of skim over stuff. And then someone posted a meme and spoiled things for me. And I was like, dang, it wasn't in ours. It wasn't in ours. It was somewhere else. But I was just like, rude. Okay. I'm still going to watch it, but rude.
No, it was really funny because like when we first started it, we were like, okay, let's mark this as spoilers. And we even had a conversation of this is how you mark it in spoilers. Let's make sure that we take care of our community and make sure everybody gets to enjoy it the same way because
you guys are awesome.
Yeah, it's our community is just so cool. I'm so happy to have you guys in our Discord. It's so great.
Speaking of our community, we're going to do another live stream. Do you want to tell us about that, David?
Just like last month where we did our movie stream where we watched the Darkness Rising, the D&D kind of based movie. We're actually going to watch Dungeons & Dragons, the movie with Jeremy Irons that was released in the year 2000. Holy crap, it's going to be bad. I cannot wait to see your guys' reactions to it. It's so good.
I'm very excited.
I feel like I might have watched it, but I'm not sure anymore. And now I'm just like, I'm excited.
If I did, it was like in high school, and I have like no memory of this place, so it'll feel like it's new.
So we'll be watching that on our Discord this month on the 29th, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
Nice. That's going to be
See
so
y'all
fun.
there.
And, while you're on the internet getting ready for our Discord link that we will be dropping occasionally on our Facebook page and our Twitter account as well, if you want to help support the show, there's so many different ways that you can do it. You can go to Apple Podcasts, leave us a review there, Audible, Podchaser, wherever they let you leave a review. Those help the algorithm and other people find us. Or if you want to kick us a few bucks, we have a Ko-fi, K-O-F-I, Cosplay Stitch, or a Patreon, patreon.com/Cosplay Stitch. $3 a month gets you a shout out on the show. $5 a month gets you our private live stream of D&D where, and V-Fire and Jazzy and Dustin, we all come together and we play a cosplay-inspired D&D session, and I'm the DM.
Woo.
And it's so much fun. It's so great. When's the next stream?
Next stream's going to be June 6th, so you got plenty of time to subscribe, get caught up, and watch that new episode with us live if you want to join us.
Just in time for Pride Month.
Oh, is there still time for them to vote on your... I forgot what you vote on.
Because I'm not telling you what they're going to vote on.
Yeah, I was like, what are they
voting? That would be manipulating the game. Yes, there is still time. Make sure that if you are at the $5 tier, that you can, you have time to come in and take a quick vote of what consequences, actions, or reactions should happen in the next episode. And I'm very excited to see what all of you say.
Ooh, I'm excited. I mean, I'll get to experience it, but I
Punishments! Punishment for being a
so
dummy.
Sure.
I am. Dude, Tolan's such a dummy. He's gonna get hurt.
Oh my goodness. Last announcement is our foxbeautycosmetics.com. That's Fox with 2 X's, FOXX, beautycosmetics.com. Enter the code Stitch and Seam to receive 10% off of your purchase of their all vegan, not tested on animals products. I really enjoy them. I just tried their magnetic eyeliner and it's super fun and easy to put on. So, yeah, nothing but good things to say about them.
Heck yeah.
So, V-Fire, why don't you tell us what today's episode is?
Oh, yeah. All right, guys. So, today's episode is all about that, please don't sue me, this is not my own original work, fan art and fan fiction.
So basically, like any outlets outside of cosplay. We covered cosplay quite extensively, but there are so many other ways to be nerdy outside of cosplay, and we just wanted to talk about some of those and how much we enjoy them.
Because, like, fandom, it's this all-encompassing thing. Like, as I was doing research for this episode, there were so many websites that were just like fan art, fan fiction, and cosplay. They would just group all three of them together. And so, and they're also like, especially, you know, fan art, that's a big thing at conventions. And we wanted to make sure to cover some of those and chat about them. And as far as the copyright side of that, probably talk about that a little bit throughout the episode, but we're not going to go super in depth. That might be for something for another time because copyright is messy. Ugh. So messy. But let's go ahead and get started. Let's see. We're talking about fan art first. There we go. I was like looking at the list and I was like, oh shoot, I'm first.
Well, I actually, like, even before we started, I kind of wanted to ask you guys, like, what sort of like fanish stuff did you do before you got into cosplay?
Art.
Art?
I consumed it. Like
yeah.
This is where like I kind of go back into the role of the everyman experience because this is not something that I've ever pursued in any capacity, either fan art or fan fiction. It's just my brain is very happy with the canon and has a hard time like reaching beyond that. And I'm not saying that like I don't get why you're happy with it. It's like, no, I get that it brings you joy and I'm happy that you have this thing. My brain doesn't go like, I need more of this.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like,
my brain is just so very happy with like, if let's take the Magnus archives. They finished, and no spoilers, but in some post interviews, they're like, hey, what about this thing? Can you clarify this thing? And he goes, as an artist, what I intended is not necessarily what you're going to come away from, and I can't control that. So whatever your conclusion is great, but if I left it ambiguous, I wanted you to kind of be inspired by that. And I really enjoy just the ambiguity of possibilities without actually having to pursue it. So, like, I feel like fan fiction, as great as and as wonderful and as talented as those writers are, my brain just goes, yeah, there's a world of possibilities, and that's where my brain stops. Like, it just doesn't need more.
No, and that's totally okay. Like, I've actually like read some articles on like how different people consume media and like what kind of conclusions they come to after they've finished something they really enjoy. And some people, you know, they just want to consume that same thing again. They want to watch it. They want to learn as much as they can about it. And some people want to like extrapolate and create more based on it. And I just think it's really interesting that people have such like divergent thought processes. And I don't want anyone to think that like celebrating your fandom should come in any specific flavor because all of them are good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Like, especially if I've really enjoyed something, like, not only do I want to, like, make cosplays, but I usually want to, like, drag all of my friends in it and be like, I experienced this, and it was so much fun, and I want you to experience it, too.
For me, before cosplay, so, like, I didn't know cosplay was a thing before college. So college is when I discovered it. But before that, like, in high school, like, I would dress up and, like, go see movies in costume. Like all those midnight showings. Oh, I miss those.
Oh, yeah.
But like, my big thing is that, like, I hyper-focus and obsess over stuff, to the point that, like, some people would make fun of me for it.
Oh, man.
You really are obsessing over this, and it's like, but I love it. I'm really glad I found people who are okay with me doing that.
Yeah.
But what I would do is I would find other like-minded individuals and be like, I love the Harry Potter universe. Let's explore that. And we would do like those, shared written stories, role-play stories, where you just would write something and then you'd pass the paper along and then someone else would write a paragraph and then they'd pass it.
Oh, yeah.
So much fun. So much fun.
Oh, man.
Then the internet came along with chat rooms and then you're just like, oh my gosh, now we can do it this way. I love doing that because it allowed me to, like, I could experience the world of, like, Harry Potter in the books, but then I could also explore it with my friends and see this, like, do the things in it that I loved about it and it just made the world more real for me. And then, like, with fan art, like, I love drawing. So essentially, like, looking back on it, my high school art teacher was always like, no, Mercedes, you need to do your own stuff. But I was like, oh, I really love drawing these things. Like, I'm going to draw Goku again. I don't care. And he, like, was trying to get me more into, like, the traditional art and those things. But eventually he realized that I would hyper-focus. And my AP art portfolio was essentially fan art.
Oh, me too. High five.
Yeah! I illustrated the Aragon book, the first book. I did my own illustrations for it using the techniques and things that my teacher had taught me, but it all was essentially fan art. Yeah, that was my biggest thing. I think it was the writing and the fan art. Yeah, what about you, Pannon?
Oh boy. Well, I don't remember how much I've gone into this, but I majored in animation when I was in college. So
that's right.
Like, I was super into drawing fan art and comics, and throughout high school, like, I would draw my friends and I in little, like, self-insert Mary Sue, like, and then all of the pretty guys from this show came and visit us.
It's yes.
Like, I still have some of them, and they're I want to say they're embarrassing and cringe, but you know what? High school me was so proud of those, and they were kind of like the building blocks for how I really started to learn to draw. And so the nice thing with comic book form too is, like, you have to repeat so many drawings over and over, and that was kind of what sparked my interest in animation, going like, I like doing this. Would I want to do many more of this? And so that's part of how I got into fandom. And then like you mentioned, Mercedes, doing like a notebook with your friends and just doing kind of like a round robin of storytelling. Like, that was always so fun and exciting for me. And
oh my gosh, you could create new adventures within the world that you all loved. It was awesome.
Oh, totally. And like, that sort of like collaborative storytelling is really what got me into fan fiction and just writing in general. And I still, like, really enjoy that. One of the first things I got into when I started going to conventions, because it was like one of my favorite things to watch at conventions, was the AMV contest, or anime music videos. And because I did so much work with animation at the time, I found editing, like, frame by frame by frame, really, I don't want to say like relaxing, but it was very much part of what I was doing at the time anyway. So I think I still have some of these hosted on my old YouTube channel, but like, I edited most of them like a frame at a time. And now it's, I don't want to say it's frustrating, but like, I don't think people realize how good they have it these days with editing programs, where they can just kind of like pick and pull and move and green screen, and like, none of that was a thing when I was in college taking animation courses. Like, when I was first getting my major, they told me, like, you can do 3D animation classes, but it's not required because we think it's just a fad. And I was like, I mean, okay, but
boy, they were wrong.
Oh boy.
that aged like milk.
Right. So that, like, I kind of, like, dip my fingers in all the little pools and enjoy fandom in all of the many ways and varieties it comes in. So, yeah.
Yes.
Well, let's get things started with fan art.
Yes. So fan art.
Yes.
So I pulled up some things on like fan art history, and so it essentially started around like the 1960s and 70s. Although I bet you could argue about like what the real meaning of certain cave paintings are, but
See, I was gonna argue like Renaissance or like Michelangelo painting like Bible fan art on the chapel. You know?
No, for real though.
It's a type of fan art.
Like I wrote down like
a fan of the Bible.
Contemporary. Yeah.
I don't think he was definitely a fan of the Bible. I think he was a fan of
okay, you know what? That's very true. in theory, not in practice of that.
A lot of that where I was like, this is a lot that I could go over, but also I didn't do really great in my art history class. Twice I took that, and did not do well. But there's definitely like a lot of things that you could look at, and it's all definitely up to interpretation. There's this idea of like contemporary art. Contemporary art is like what is current or modern in the world of art. And fan art is often like referred to as like a dirty word. Again, going back to my high school. Yeah, going back to my high school teacher, I was on DeviantArt all the time being like, oh my gosh, look at all this art. This is so cool. And my teacher being like, do not use DeviantArt as a way of like finding your references or your inspiration. He's like, just don't. He's like, don't put a portfolio on there. Don't do this. Don't do that. And I was like, but why not? This is where all the artists are.
Right.
That was at that time. That's where all the artists are. There's even like way professional artists on DeviantArt even today. I mean, that site is still going strong. But the idea that, fan art, it's done by non-traditional artists, people who haven't gone and trained and studied in a lot of cases. There are artists who have done fan art that do have a traditional background, but there's also a whole bunch out there that don't. And so it's usually kind of poo-pooed on because of that. And in my opinion, really shouldn't be. It's something that should be studied because it's such a huge part of our culture.
For sure.
Especially with like the internet age and being able to share all of this. But like being able to call things fan art by that official name, 1960s and 70s was Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings.
Nice. Yeah.
Zines. So magazines.
Zines.
Is it called zines?
Because they're magazines.
Zines. I always see that word and I'm just like, zines.
You would be right.
I know it's a magazine, but I call it a zine. I don't know. Anyways.
It throws me so hard when I hear that too, because I'm like, wait, it's a zine. It's like GIF and GIF here.
I think you mean Geif.
Oh
my gosh.
David, we've been together for over 100 episodes, but I'm sorry, you're going to have to leave. That's the thing that did it.
Yep.
Don't interrupt. Don't introduce a third one. Anyways, so magazines and all that kind of stuff, like the cover illustrations and things like that, those were done by fan artists. And that's where you would go and get them published. And then DeviantArt and Tumblr came along and you were able to, share them to an even wider audience. One thing that was really fascinating as I was reading up on these, if you look up like the old fan magazines and things like that, the majority of publishers, writers, artists, and so on were female. And like Star Trek and Star Wars were catered towards men, but it was the women coming up with all the like fan stuff, the fandom. And so that was just kind of like a fascinating little tidbit there where I was like, that's pretty dope. That regardless of people being like, no, this has been a boys' club the whole time, it really hasn't. Sorry, us women's folk have been around for a long time, and we like stuff.
I think it's just silly that we have to like have any sort of gender war with it at all. Like, can we all just like not enjoy fandom in our own ways?
Right?
And it shouldn't be a contest. It should be let's talk about things we love, you know?
It just should be an enjoyable thing for all. So fan art, like I said before, it like struggles to be recognized as real art in the art world because it, usually comes from non-traditional backgrounds, the idea of like, you're just copying someone else's idea, those sort of things. But there's so much more to it than that. To just simply dismiss it is so ridiculous, in my opinion. There's many points of history where an art movement was considered not real art,
Oh, for sure.
So many moments of that, and I feel like fan art is a part of that. It may not be considered real art, but that's by people who are just wanting to look for the familiar, what they studied, those kind of things. So on that note, there has been progress. In June of 2019, there was a gallery showing off. A gallery showing off fan art. The Corey Helford Gallery worked with over 100 artists to open an exhibition to celebrate Hello Kitty for her 45th anniversary.
Oh, cute.
That's so freaking amazing. So over 100 artists, you've got Hello Kitty all over the place in different art styles, in different versions, different interpretations, just all throughout this gallery. Collectors were calling in to purchase art from it. So from a business standpoint, this was lucrative. This was not something to just simply dismiss and be like, it's fan art. No, they were making money off of this, if that's important to you. I apologize if I pronounce any of these names wrong, but Sherry Trahan, she was the co-curator with Caro, said, I just really liked this quote from Sherry. "We wanted them, the artists, to incorporate Hello Kitty into their style. We're not looking for them to change who they are to create the fan art. We're looking for them to be who they are and incorporate the fandom into it." I found that with an article from Refinery 29. If anyone wants to look up that article, it was a really good read. Again, the idea of like, we're looking for them to be who they are and incorporate the fandom into it. That to me is what fan art is. It's, you're still being yourself. You're just incorporating what you love into that. And there's like so much to unpack here. Like for me as an artist,
yeah.
For me as an artist, like growing up, like the way I found my style, like for a lot of people, oh my gosh. Okay, we're going into some deep stuff here for a second, deep into my art side of the brain. And I apologize if anyone's like, oh, boring. But style, that's something that everybody has. You just need to find it and refine it, right? And using fan art, that helps you to find your style and then start refining it. Like there was definitely a long time where I was drawing these very cartoony characters, and I was like, my art teacher, in high school and in college, they're like, this is too cartoony, you shouldn't be doing this. But at the same time, a lot of my other friends, this is too anime looking, but a lot of my friends were like, this is cool, I love your style. And so I've developed it into my own thing over time. And I've looked at other artists and been like, I really like what they do here, so I try it out on my own. It's a way to explore and get better at what you are expressing for yourself artistically. And I will never poo-poo on fan art because of that.
Sure.
To me, it is real art. It's your exploration of self. It is your exploration and expression of not just yourself, but something that you love. And you put as much of yourself into that artwork as you're putting the fandom into it. Yeah, so that was a big, long thing.
It's good, though. It's good. Yeah. I love hearing your perspective.
I love fan art. And, like, again, it's evolved. It's been a way to, again, express and explore your appreciation for something, whether it be, you have no background, you don't know what color theory is, you don't know what the meaning of line art is, and you just make your own thing. That's beautiful. And keep doing it, please. So, fan art, what is it? What, is it like, what if you're someone out there painting your favorite singer, your favorite actor? What is fan art? It can be a number of different things, and what blurs the line? There's so many, like, artists out there that are like, I would never want my art to be referred to as fan art, but what they're making is that. It just looks fancier because they've been doing it a long time. And for me,
yeah, no, you make that's a really good point with especially like with portraiture like that, where you could just like really love this actor and you want to do a like realistic rendering of the actor or actress or your favorite celebrity. And it's like, is it fan art? Is like, where's the line? Because it's just a way to express yourself and things that you love.
Yeah, and that was actually another thing that I saw, is that portraiture in art is something that's kind of like, but fan art thrives on it.
Yeah.
Because we like to look at these characters. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is that, what is fan art? It's what you put into it. It can be serious and fanatic all at once. It is an exploration of characters in other contexts, showing them as what you interpret them as. I always love seeing the Harry Potter characters as non-white.
Yeah.
Because there is nothing in the books completely stating that they are one race or another, just that they live in Britain, and Britain is pretty mixed. So you can get a good mixture there. And I love seeing people just take that and be like, well, this is how I want to see me in this, without, there's going to be your self-inserts, all your the cute guys are coming to visit your friends. But there's also that idea of like having a black Hermione, having a black Spock. I mean, there's also but it encourages those in-canon characters to come. And yeah, I'm rambling. I am so sorry.
You're good.
No, you're fine. I was going
art.
to kind of like,
yeah, go.
I was going to kind of segue this into fan fiction, because fan art is such a like, so much of what you've said applies to so many different ways to express art, and it doesn't necessarily have to be pen on paper drawing something. It can be writing, it can be sewing, it can be music, it can be, however you express yourself is still art. So with fanfic, geez, I feel like I've been in this since the beginning, but the beginning was like the 1940s when they officially coined that term. And one of the earliest was the zines, with the Star Trek zines, was where modern fan fiction got its start, was people shipping spork and writing different short stories in these actual magazines that they would mail to people.
Yep. And people collect those.
Yeah. And I found it interesting, like, with how prolific fan fiction is these days. Like, there's been fan fiction writers on modern pop culture things that have become also published writers just by, like, changing a few things from their books. Like, I think the biggest example was with the Twilight series. The books for 50 Shades of Grey started out as a Twilight fan fiction. And then it later became its own thing. I was reading, what was it? This book series, the first one's Cinder. And I checked an interview with the author and they said it is not, but it has very, very hard Sailor Moon vibes in it. And they were a Sailor Moon fan fiction writer before they started writing their Cinder series. I had a lot of fun reading it, but it was very much like, oh, that's Usagi. Oh, that's Prince Endymion. Oh, that's, it was a fun read anyway. And oh gosh, anyway. So basically what I'm saying is fan fiction has come a long way. And like Mercedes said, like, there's definitely a bad rap. I feel like that fan fiction is somehow beneath other writing. And without getting like too political on that and like different awards thingies that authors receive, it is, I feel like, very underappreciated, and people work really hard with fan fiction, and it's been every bit as good as published works. Like, I don't see why it should be any less value. But yeah, so we started out with these published zines and things like that. When we got the internet, back in my day, I remember like we didn't really have like really a place to go just for fan fiction. Like you'd follow these web rings and you'd look for fan sites of your favorite series, and maybe that website would host a fan fiction. If you were lucky, one of them Angel Fire or GeoCities sites. And then we finally got fanfiction.net, which I believe is still around today. And for that one was a thing for quite a while. And this was before the time of like tags and warning people about what was in your fan fiction. And we had the citrus chart. Do you guys remember that?
I don't know. Again, this is where my expertise like drops off so dramatically. But I did check FictionNet, fanfiction.net is still up and running.
Yeah. So back in the day, people would tag their different pairings and things like that with different citrus names. Like, oh, this is a lime, this is a lemon, this is a...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and they mean different things. Like this one is like two guys, this one's two girls, this one's really smutty, this one's, whatever. And they would just do it with like these citrus ratings, which is a whole other thing that I won't get into too far. But the whole struggle, I think, with that is that there wasn't a consistent rating system, and not like rating like is it R-rated, is it PG-13, etc. There wasn't a consistent like tag way to like say this is what's in the fic, just be warned so you're not going to like trigger yourself or whatever by reading it. And I'm really glad that part has evolved so much that people are able to write what they want, but then people that don't want to read that can easily avoid that. Is very, very good system, I think. But fanfiction.net didn't have that. And they went through, I think people just call it the Great Purge, where they were like, no more adult content, not here.
Oh, man.
And they just went through and deleted all of the 18 plus fan fiction on there. And like, it's not like Library of Alexandria levels, but there was so much writing that was just gone and lost from this. And even things that like that were just like thought to maybe be were just chucked by the wayside. Kind of like when Tumblr decided it was like, oh, no more not safe for work on Tumblr, and we will like tag pictures of a sandy beach as nudity. It was just kind of everything went. And so a lot of authors have a hard time trusting fanfiction.net these days because they don't want to just suddenly lose all of their work again.
Yeah.
And this was like before the days of Google Docs, where you either had a backup on your computer or you only saved it to the website you were at. In those same days, Mercedes, let me enlighten you to the like evolved version of notebook fanfiction writing.
I'm ready for this.
We have Livejournal Roleplay, which was an old site, livejournal.com, where you could go and make accounts for different characters that you wanted to play as, and then other people could play with you, and you could do a collaborative story that way.
Oh, that's so cool. How did I miss that?
So Livejournal is still around, but they also had a purge that was similar, and everybody, like, they changed all of their rules and their code of conduct, things like that. And so everybody migrated to an almost copycat site, which is dreamwidth.org. And Dreamwidth Roleplay still exists to this day. And so when I say I've been writing a lot, that's usually what I've been writing. I have like 16 different accounts on Dreamwidth because you can have one for as many characters as you want, and you can go play on these games with people and do that kind of collaborative writing. And they have like communities and games and different like writing prompts, and you can do all kinds of stuff. And I found that's like really
do a thing.
Yeah, I found that's
Wait till the episode's
that's
over.
really
Wait till the episode's over.
Yes.
I found it's really helpful for getting me started when I'm like in a writing slump, because I can just go there and there's like so many prompts and other people that want to just write with you. Not to say that that's the only place you can do that sort of collaborative writing. You back in the day, you could do it on Gaia. For a while, you could do it on Tumblr. I don't really see it anymore there. I see it sometimes on Twitter, where people will make like accounts for specific characters and they'll like play out little like role play stuff. But Twitter's hard because you only have so many characters. And by characters, I don't mean characters, I mean letters you can use. Then after all of that, we finally got AO3, or Archive of Our Own, which is a huge archive of all things fanish and fandom and fanfic. And they do accept like fan art, they accept podfics, they accept like all types of media. And it's totally like volunteer run. It's made that way so nobody is profiting. And they do like fundraisers a couple times a year to help cover like legal costs and things that are like constantly trying to protect fan fiction, fan art, etc., from coming under fire from these big companies, and to keep fan fiction and other fan creations legal, at least in our country. So I love AO3. I always donate to their thing because I read so much fan fiction.
I'm way happy to hear that. And also, like, I don't know, I'm really glad to see a lot of companies and things out there being like, hey, please make fan art of our stuff. Please do these kinds of things, and being encouraging rather than the good old days where you'd get a cease and desist and be like, oh my gosh, what have I done? And you haven't even made any money off of it. That's why, like, I made the joke at the beginning of the episode of like, please don't sue me, because that was like such a big thing. You'd write something and you'd put that at the beginning so that to be like, this is just for shits and giggles, or I swore, dang it. But I'm not trying to make money off of this. I'm just trying to have fun with it,
Right.
And now there's companies that, like, as long as you're not making a ton of money on it, that's like ridiculous. Most companies don't care unless it's Disney. Do not ever mess with the mouse. Just don't.
So let me ask you then. Because like anytime that you go to a convention, you're going to see people who have a lot of fan art that they've drawn of big characters and whatnot. So without having to get too heavy into copyright law, like, is that just kind of like they can do this as long as like no one's getting hurt, or what's happening? Because technically this is proper.
Right. It kind of depends on the convention, because I've seen them approach it different ways, actually. I've seen conventions where they're like, well, you can sell fan art, you just can't claim what property it's from. So that's where you'll see booths that are like, the Orange Ninja series and the Fighting High School series, and where they'll just have like these really cheesy names for it, but you look at the characters and you're like, well, oh, obviously that's Naruto, obviously that's My Hero Academia, things like that. With some of them, it's such a like under the radar thing that a lot of companies are willing to look the other way. With some of them, like, I know with like a lot of YouTubers and things like that, it falls under fair use, because they're like, without going into like too much detail, there's a lot of different ways that you can spin it.
Yeah.
And I know
that's one of the biggest things is the fair use, and like, what are the laws in your area? The research that I've done so far on the copyright stuff is that if you can prove that it's a fair use thing, you're fine. But declaring that is so vague. Like, in some places it feels like it has more definitions, but in other places it doesn't. But for the most part, a lot of stuff out there is for fair use, as long as, again, you're not being like, yeah, I totally came up with Naruto, because you didn't. It's like, you are not the original creator, because, dude, if I walked into a convention and saw that the original creator or something was there, oh yeah, they're getting my money. And then you also have people like the McElroy brothers and Adventure Zone, and they ask people, it's like, if you make fan art are they the ones that ask people not to sell it? I can't remember now. One of the groups out there.
Well, I was actually going to mention this with a lot of like Japanese and Chinese media. They'll have like a doujinshi convention, and a doujinshi is like a fan comic based on an existing series. And the reason that they are able to do that is they don't charge any more than what it costs to make. So they're not really like profiting a bunch on it. Which is why a lot of like doujinshi and fan-made things are so cheap. With a lot of the Chinese novels I've been reading, they'll do things called a P4P, where you're like pay for the cost of making it, basically. So the keychains are like really cheap, but it's because the artist is like, I respect the creator's wishes. They don't want people to profit on fan art, but I still want to make it, and I still want to distribute it to people who want to celebrate this fandom that they love. So they'll do it like at cost, basically.
Okay.
That's clever.
Yeah. Before we like, fanfic and fan art have gone on a while, but I did want to like go over a few other ways to express fandom, just because, I mean, those are definitely the two you see the most, but there's still a bunch of others. I mentioned briefly like anime music videos, because that was like editing stuff was like my passion at the time, and that one was super fun. Mercedes, you were talking about Filk. I don't know if a lot of people these days even know what Filk is.
I know, ever since the convention conduit went away, you don't see it here in Utah anymore, and it makes me very sad. But Filk is like folk music, but it's fan music. And it's so much fun. Like, I remember at Conduit, they would have Filk concerts. So you would just go in, and there would just be a bunch of fans just singing, banned dihydrogen monoxide. I don't remember who was the original writer of that one, but I loved that one. Stuff like Hey There Cthulhu, done like Hey There Delilah.
I remember that one.
Hey There Cthulhu is written by Eben Brooks.
So is Weird Al Yankovic technically a Filk writer?
Yes. I would say Weird Al Yankovic is kind of like a Filk writer. Because, like, the Star Wars one he did.
Oh, yeah.
According to Wikipedia, Filk music is a musical culture, genre, and community tied to science fiction, fantasy, and horror fandom, and a type of fan labor. The genre has been active since the 1950s, played primarily since the mid-1970s. It seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the amount of production that Weird Al puts into it extends him beyond the Filk label.
There you go. That's fair. Like, I got into Filk at the same convention Mercedes is talking about, which was Conduit, but I was like super into the book series Dragonlance at the time, and I don't know if you guys remember that one.
Okay, but Penn and like at that time, who wasn't? That was such a good series.
Okay.
All right.
But they had so
Dragonlance
much
is amazing.
Filk about Dragonlance, and like Raceland was always my favorite character, and they had like all these really good like covers of songs for him, and I was like, oh yeah, I actually have like an old CD. I burned all the MP3s too. And that sentence aged me a little.
Yes.
Yes. And I was also gotta mention podcasts. Like, podcasts have been such a huge way to celebrate fandom. I mean, David, tell us about like how you got started with Comic Trades Monthly.
I mean, it was purely just because like there's got to be moral implications that we can draw upon comic books. So it was not necessarily I need to extend the canon, but I need to legitimize my reasons for wanting to read comic books.
I mean, that's still good. Like, whatever, like, you have fun expanding on in that universe. Like, I love seeing different like takes on like all kinds of media and being like, well, what about this perspective? What if we look at it with this sort of critical thinking? It's always like really fascinating to me. But I think a lot of podcasts, like we have a D&D podcast, we have upcoming video games podcasts, we have all kinds of podcasts about just about anything you could like. And it's just a fun way for people. It's kind of like what we do here. Well, it is what we do here, where we just kind of like get together and talk about stuff that we're super fanatic and nerdy about. Like,
Yeah.
it's fun. I was going to mention, I love seeing like home deck and interior design builds that are like fan based, where someone has like decked out a room to be like Alice in Wonderland, or like being like
Melissa's
a classic game. Yeah.
Garnet Runestar's apartment. Heck yes.
Yeah.
The living room is Majora's Mask. The kitchen is Skyward Sword. Or not Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild. The bathroom, I think, is Wind Waker, appropriately. It's like, I love that each room is just themed, and it's gorgeous, and I just go and I sit there and I'm just like, I love this.
Yeah. I like a lot of the like classic video game ones where they have like the systems painted all over the walls. Like, it was just so fun to see people get creative on that kind of scale. I saw one where someone had like redone their in-home theater to look like the board of like a Starship Enterprise, like,
so cool.
That's kind of intense, but but really cool.
Pretty freaking dope. I want to go see this house.
right.
I go watch movies there.
Yeah. People also express their fandom with their clothing and accessories. Like not only getting like logo shirts, but I love the explosion of stuff that Her Universe has caused with their fashion shows that are fandom based, where you see these outfits inspired by pop culture and different media. And it's just so cool to see how the fashions people come up with based on these shows and characters. And also they do like everyday wear lines that you can see all kinds of like cute nerdy stuff. I have so many things from that brand. I had like a cute little like Totoro jumper, and have like, oh gosh, little like skirts and hoodies, and it's so much fun. And it's not just like, not that logo shirts are bad, but it's nice to see that there are different like fashion options. Instead of just being like, oh, here's my favorite thing on a t-shirt. I can also be like, here's my favorite thing as a skirt, or as stockings, or as shoes. And
there is this very expensive but very cute Bulbasaur like jumper skirt that I really want. Oh my gosh. I keep looking at it like, you take like the like jumper part of it, and you can actually like unhook it and like let it lay down, and it's got another Bulbasaur underneath it, and I love it.
Love that. And then I did want to mention collecting. Like, even if you're not creating, a lot of people like to collect.
Yes.
So I was going to ask you guys, what is your fandom dragon hoard? Is there anything you collect when you go to cons, or when you get into a fandom? Is there something that you go, I need a blank?
Figurines. I love them. Especially if I'm going to make a cosplay something, I'll try and find a figure of it, because that usually can help me kind of figure out some of the pieces. And like, Sadie is super into figurines. She doesn't even open hers, which is actually a fun thing for me to do, because I will get the same figurine and I'll open it in front of her, and she'll be like, why? She is glaring at me right now. But like, I love getting those because it's fun to put them on display. For me personally, like growing up, I was always told, don't open up these certain figures because then they're going to lose their worth. So as an adult, I open up all of mine and I play with them. Create my own little fan fictions. Be like, look at it. I am on the A spectrum, so no, I don't do naughty things with them, guys. Get your minds out of the gutter. Dude, when I had a dwarf hamster, I would actually build castles for him, and he was Captain Dibbles, he was captain of the guard, and I would have my little figurines and play with him, so like, yeah, I am so easy to entertain.
What about you, David?
I love to go to the artist alley and see if there's any like artist who is selling comic books. That's my go-to. I currently have over 2,500 comic books currently in my house. And those are just the ones that I have read.
Jeez.
So it's one of those things of like, if I can find somebody who's selling a comic book that one is like a local artist that needs support, buy locally, support indie, heck yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, like, it then feeds my dragon horde, as to put it in your words, Pannon.
That's awesome. No, I love that. And especially like it gives new creators a foot in the door to start building their own fan base, because you need people who want to like go out and consume their content, I know a lot of fan art content creators have a hard time getting their foot in the door when they want to start creating original works. And so I love that you are so excited to explore their new worlds too. For me, I love collecting figures. That is a weakness of mine as well. I have a whole bunch of like prints. I have more prints than I have wall space usually.
I have a bin under my bed full of prints.
Yes. I love the artist alley at conventions because I will find things that, most companies haven't even thought to like make for that series. Like
Yes.
I'll be like, well, I want keychains for this new popular series and there's not even anything out for it yet. And people will be like, oh, I got you. I have like 5 different types of keychain or lanyard or wallet or like all kinds of cute little things I can use to celebrate my excitement for that.
Finding anything for Shadow of the Colossus before the remake came out was like, anytime I found something, like Sadie and I would go through convention halls, and if she saw anything Shadow of the Colossus, she would immediately call me over. And then I had to sit there and decide how much I really wanted it, because it was always expensive.
Oh, yeah. Another thing I like is art books. Like those are usually the officially licensed ones, but like the Hyrule Historia, I have like a whole bunch of different Shonen Jump ones. And it's just like a compilation of the artist's like works. I have way too many JoJo ones.
I have a lot of video game art books, and I also have double. I have double of all of the I have 2 Hyrule Historias, one that's opened and for me to ruin, the other one's still sealed, and then I have the collector's editions of the other 2, the Arts and Artifacts and Encyclopedia, and I also have the regular versions. So
and I forgot to mention keychains, because that is, I'll have to take a picture of like my pegboard so you can see how many freaking keychains I have. Like when Ita bags, I know they're still a thing, but like Ita bags, like even the biggest Ita bag does not house all of my charms. I had to like create a corkboard wall thing for it, and it's out of control. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is having like an encyclopedic knowledge where you go out and like see how many times you can watch a thing, or you want to learn everything about the thing and know how every episode was crafted and watch all 9 discs of the Lord of the Rings behind the scenes. Like, just learning as much as you can. And I love that that's a way you can celebrate fandom as well.
I am not a sports person, but I could tell you every rule of how Quidditch worked and all the cheats and everything that Quidditch users would use and all that kind of stuff and the history of it. And yeah.
Wow.
I am not a sports person, but I could tell you everything in high school. Not now. I forgot all of it. But in high school, I could have told you everything you needed to know about Quidditch.
Yeah. So yeah, basically what we want to say with this episode is like celebrate your fandom your own way. It doesn't have to be cosplay. It can be a bunch of different fun ways. And even us as cosplayers, there are a bunch of other ways we like to celebrate the things we like. Do we have any horror stories this week?
Yeah, we have one, again from our Discord, again from Sumikins. Sumikins, are you okay?
Thank you, but yes.
Thank you, but
so
are
many.
you okay? All right, so they write, in 2013, my then cosplay group and I decided to cosplay the main 4 characters from Muramasa, the Demon Blade. I chose Torahime?
Torahime, yep.
Torahime, thank you, who has this sort of rainbow-colored samurai outfit, including a matching helmet. Well, the way that it was done, it's a black base, but covered in these colorful ridges. I covered the whole thing in a stretch pleather as a base, which worked great. It was the ridges that were the problem. At this time, EVA foam dowels weren't a thing, and a friend said she had used backer rod on one of her costumes and painted it with acrylic paint. I trusted her and bought the backer rods. For those who don't know, backer rod is the sort of foam tubing with a plastic coating used for filling large gaps in places that need to be caulked like bathrooms, flooring, etc. I used a plastic bonding spray primer on all of this backer rod, but despite that, the paint did not stick. Even the slightest bend caused it to crack and flake away. Just transporting it in my suitcase caused a lot of damage, which I touched up with more paint in the hotel, but it didn't matter. I was still devastated.
Oh, man.
You can't see it in any of the photos, thankfully, but by the time I transported it all home, it was in a sad state. I never wore the armor again. I would do it all differently now.
Oh, dang it.
Whoa.
That's sad, but like I like that she took it as like a learning experience and has all these different cool ways she can try it now. But yeah, that's sad. That's sad. One of my goal costumes that was supposed to be for 2020, but that year kind of is from that same series, Muramasa the Demon Blade. So I love that one. They have really fun costumes. So thanks for sending that in, Sumikins. We are getting low in our reserves of horror stories. So if you have one you want to send us from home or put on our Discord, or you can even send us some happy stories or just tell us how you're doing. And of course, you can always email those to us at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com or
you can go to the website, cosplaystitchandseam.com, and fill out the Googly Google form,
or you can go to our Facebook page and share your story, your happy story, or any story that you want to share, and we'll be more than happy to read it on the show. While you're there, hey, join our Work in Progress Wednesday groups, either there or on our Discord. And like we said at the top of the show, our Discord, we're going to have our live stream on the 29th at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and we're going to be watching the Dungeons and Dragon movie with Jeremy Irons that was released in 2000. I cannot wait to. It's been so long, and it's so terrible. Like even my childhood memory is like, yeah, that was terrible. But hey, while you're on the internet, if you want to help out the show, there's many different ways that you can do that. Share an episode with a friend, share it on your social media, tag us in it. We'll be so grateful. We don't pay to advertise. It's all word of mouth. So that helps us out immensely. Also, if you want to help us with the algorithm, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Audible or Podchaser or wherever they let you do that. We'll give you a shout out on the show. And if you are feeling generous and you have a couple of bucks laying around, you want to kick us those our way, we have a Ko-fi, K-O-F-I, Cosplay Stitch, or Patreon, patreon.com/Cosplay Stitch. And you can join the awesome people who have helped make the show as good as it is. It helps pay for all of the back end stuff to make sure that it stays just as good as we can get it. Some of those amazing people are Queer Eye Sci-Fi, Howl Cause, Hot Riku, Rena Mira, Jazzy Kofed, Jaguar Quinn, Gloria Shu, Sudi, Stacy Pitt, Shock H, and Silver Deeds. And remember, $3 a month, we give you a shout out on the show just like that. And $5 a month, not only do you get the shout out, but you also get to join our live stream D&D game.
Yay!
Thank you guys!
Yay, thank you so much. Remember, you can get that sweet 10% off on foxbeautycosmetics.com. Just use the promo code Stitch and Seam, all spelled out, for their all vegan, not tested on animal products that are great for cosplay. Thanks, as always, to Macy Roberts for the use of her theme song, and David Jeffress for his amazing editing, and all of his many, many podcasts. How are those going?
Dungeons and Chill, it's getting really exciting. The Pancakening has just been released. My favorite episode. We're next month we'll be having a new episode just because, again, quarantine life and whatnot. We wanted to make sure that everybody at the table was safe. So that should be wrapping up actually pretty soon, since we'll be able to get back to the table pretty quick, which is exciting.
Yay!
And then Comic Trades Monthly, we just released Truth, Red, White, and Black, the story of the first Captain America, a man of color, Isaiah Bradley. If you saw the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, then you may have seen his character kind of teased here and there. Not a big thing, just a minor thing. Doesn't matter. Enjoy comic books. Excitement. If you also enjoy kind of a mystery kind of thing, or just kind of zombie core stuff, core, not gore, then go listen to The Last Voice. It is the story of a single person trying to survive the end of the world all alone and see if he can find new people to start the world over again with.
Yay! I'm so excited to catch up on that. I just finished Magnus Archives, and I'm like, David's podcast is next.
Heck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I know we talked about this in our episode, but like, what makes a true fan? Everyone argues about it, but honestly, I think you're not a true fan unless you hang from the ceiling and spin in circles, providing cool air to everyone around you. Bye, guys.